Hi, my name is Christy and I'm a Palestinian Christian who was born in Bethlehem. Today is Wednesday, the 23rd of April 2014. I'm here to share with you publicly about a promise that Dr. Saeb Erekat, our senior negotiator, has given me in Oxford on Al Jazeera's program Head to Head, where he said, "I promise that in my lifetime we'll have freedom of speech, transparency, women's rights." As a consequence of his promise, I decided to share my views, my political views, publicly. Therefore, I've done a university talk in Sweden, in Uppsala University, and it was published on YouTube. After doing that, I believe that my family has been going through lots of pressure at the moment, and intimidation and threats. I don't know by whom, but I'd like to ask you, Dr. Saeb. I believe that you're a man of honor, and I believe that you will keep your word and protect my family members in their homeland. Thank you.
Okay, let's take I want a lady from the audience, please. Lady in the third row.
I'm a Palestinian myself, and I want to ask you a very personal question. As a Palestinian who experienced the Israeli soldiers occupying my house, I lost a friend, and my house has been affected seriously now by the wall. I can understand how hard it is for you as a Palestinian negotiator, and your position must be very hard. But my question, are you able to negotiate without allowing your feelings and emotions to impact your judgment in taking decisions?
You touch my heart. You know, it's... Look, everything I do doesn't paramount to one night some of my colleagues spend in Israeli jails. There are some classmates of mine who have been in jail for 26 years. There have been some classmates of mine who their parents took to the cemeteries. I negotiate in pain, in frustration, in tears sometimes, but I really believe that negotiating in pain and frustration for 5 years is cheaper than exchanging bullets for 5 minutes. We are a people of peace. We're bringing Palestine back to the map, and Palestine will harm no one. Palestine had stood historically as a bridge between civilization, between religion, and there is no meaning for a Palestine to come back on the map without it being democracy, human rights,
You believe that will happen in your lifetime?
transparency, the rule of law, and women's rights.
You believe a free
and that's my
Palestinian
promise
state
to
in your
you.
lifetime?
You look like one of my daughters, all right? And that's my promise to you and to my grandchildren, that Palestine will be a country of accountability, transparency, women's rights, human rights, and I will believe this will happen in my lifetime.
Now, the second intifada started. Because of the location of my house, it was just in front of a holy place for the Jews. So my people, Palestinians, started attacking that holy place for the Jews day and night. During the daytime, they used to throw rocks and some bombs. During the nighttime, they used to shoot, knowing that there were Palestinian civilians living in that area as well. What we've noticed during that period of time is that there were children throwing rocks and fighting, as well as adults. So we had children being used as fighters. These poor children has been brainwashed into the mentality that fighting for your country is an honor to die. It was really sad to see them killed in front of you and shot, dead. They used to fight, believing that they'll have some honor. And what used to happen is that their families used to get benefits afterwards. And, for example, Saddam Hussein, the ex-Prime Minister of Iraq, he used to give $10,000 for a family who has a martyr, and $20,000 for a family who has a suicide bomber. It was a tragic thing. And recently, my government, the Palestinian Authority, has given $74 million to the families of martyrs. Isn't that perpetuating violence? And sadly, as we can see, these are the reasons, and these are Palestinians themselves that will tell you that these are the reasons behind why these people and why these children put their lives on the line of fire and die. And there's another group of them that believe, and some of them, sadly, they really believe it, that they'll find 72 virgins. I don't know about the number. I don't know if they'll be able to handle it. But they actually believe they'll find 72 virgins when they die. I hope they do. Because it would be really a big loss when they found out that it's not the case. The end result is Israeli soldiers shooting these children. My government, the Palestinian government authority, was supposed to protect them according to Oslo Accords, protect these children, these people from attacking, and maintain public order, which is not there. And many of them get into Israeli jails. They get mistreated, they get beaten. And bearing in mind that these Israeli soldiers, some of them are 18 and 19 years old soldiers. So it's an accident waiting to happen. Putting these teenagers fighting against each other. Anyway, things kept getting worse in that intifada. And sadly, I lost a friend who was dear to me. She was 11 years old, and we spent 2 years as friends, and she was shot dead by the Israeli soldiers by mistake. She was in the wrong place, wrong time, and wrong car. There was a group of soldiers waiting for a car for wanted people, and her family car was in front of the car of the wanted people, and it was identical, even the color. And the Israeli soldiers got confused, and they shot both cars, and they killed her. This story, as a Christian, she was a Christian, this story has been told by the church and by my people to the whole world. But at the same intifada, I had an uncle, a wealthy Christian uncle who used to pay al-jizya. Al-jizya basically is protection money. So if you're a non-Muslim, you're a Jew or a Christian, you have to pay a protection money to keep you in the regime, protected. That was the role of this money. My uncle was one of these Christians in Bethlehem community who had to pay this money. But sadly, after a while, him and other Christians started seeing these people who called themselves freedom fighters. I call them mafia. They used to stand next to Christian houses, shoot and launch rockets at Israel, and run so that the response would come mainly upon Christian houses. So what my uncle done was to decide to stop giving them money. They accused him for being a traitor. They put him in jail. They had no evidence against him. They had to let him out of jail. But after a few days, they shot him in his heart in front of his house and killed him. Palestinians killing other Palestinians. What a jungle. Another wealthy Christian man who used to pay the money at the funeral of my uncle stood and said a few angry words against them. After a few days, they shot him in his head. He was rushed to an Israeli hospital and saved, but lived blinded to the rest of his life. None of these stories and more were told by my people to the world. At the Intifada, the number of Christianity started decreasing big time, sadly. And I probably heard that so many people would tell you that the major factor is the Israeli occupation. Well, I believe in facts and statistics. If we look at the percent of Christianity in Bethlehem area, it was 81%. And after the Israeli occupation, it got into 85%. It actually increased. It decreased after the two intifadas and the rising of the PLO and the radical group Hamas. If the reason and the major factor is the Israeli occupation, why is it affecting the number of Christianity only? Hence our population growth is 2.2% annually. Ramallah now is 90%. It used to be 90% Christians, and now it's 95% Muslims. Bethlehem used to be the birthplace of Jesus Christ, used to be 81% and even 85%. Now it's 7%, and it's getting less. Things kept getting worse through that intifada. And a series of suicide attacks, deadly suicide attacks, were done by my people, sadly, against Israel civilians, and even killed Palestinians. These people used to put bombs on themselves and kill themselves and others. It was horrible. And what happened afterwards is that on the year of 2002, and it was Yom Kippur, it was the Passover in one of Netanyah's hotel, a suicide bomb happened, a suicide attack happened, and it killed so many Jews. I don't remember the number. And after that, Israel decided to put the wall. I was young at that time, and all I remember was going to school and coming back, and one day, finding the wall surrounding my house from three sides, making it the only unique house in West Bank and Gaza with that particular situation. We lost our businesses, our life got destroyed, you know, having a wall in front of you, surrounding your house, in an isolated area. We have 4 cameras filming us 24/7. I used to joke with my family members, if you find your video on YouTube having a shower, no, it's one of these cameras. I hope they haven't researched it, but if you look at this picture, it's this is my house, and this is how far it is. It should have been closer, and I have a grandmother that can't walk properly, and it would have been an issue to get her into the house. But while digging to build the wall, they found the sewage pipes. So I used to joke we were saved by the sewage. They had to put it a bit further. This is the view from my house. It's all surrounded. I mean, that's what you would see if you look through my bedroom when I was back there. The wall was built on still on 8.5% of Palestinian lands, especially around Bethlehem area. And it took so many Christian lands, mostly. I have an auntie who lost lots of lands. But if you ask me a simple question now, if you were the Prime Minister of Israel, would you put that wall up? My answer would be yes, bearing in mind I was one of the most people who was affected by this wall. Because it stopped my people killing themselves and blowing themselves up from the first place. And I care for people, not for concrete. Afterwards, the second intifada ended, and I decided to study law. I was a law student back home, and I was studying about international law, freedom of speech, human rights, yet at the same time I was learning about our legal system, which is a very interesting combination. It's mostly based on what we call al-urf. And al-urf is a combination of Sharia and tribal law. And the tribal law we have is based on what we call the Bedouin culture. Now, the values of the Bedouin culture are what we call the 3 Ws. Woman, wealth, war. When I learned this information, I stopped and I said, I want to take a step back and look at the bigger picture as an Arab. Sadly, my people, and I'm devastated to say that, if you look at the regime now and take the word woman, men can get married to up to 4 women there. Wealth, I have a corrupt government having the financial benefit out of the situation. They're loaded with money, and my people are suffering. After learning the amount of money we've been given, I should be rich. Each Palestinian should be rich. Well, war, if we don't have an enemy to fight against, like Israel-Palestine conflict, in 2006 in Gaza, Fatah and Hamas fought against each other and killed each other. We'd fight against each other. Palestinians killing Palestinians. Tunisia, Algeria, Libya, Iraq, Lebanon, Syria, Egypt. My people have taken these values and expanded them and built on them. Our constitution is there, and it's a very good one, but it's never used because we have a corrupt government. Sabi Arkat, our senior negotiator, said, we have had killed Palestinians to establish one authority, one gun, and the rule of law. We invested time and effort. Well done, yeah. Well done. To kill Palestinians, our people. It's disgusting. Sadly, this affected my regime, my culture. There's no law, no order. One of the most things we face is honor killings. Women don't have rights there. In this market, this is a picture of a market where a woman has been beaten for 10 years by her husband, and after 10 years she had the courage to go to court and ask for divorce. After she's done that, her husband caught her in the market and slaughtered her. Women are treated as possessions there. Women, like you, like yourselves, you're not regarded as human beings. You don't have the freedom of speech or the rights there. I can tell you so many stories about young women being killed by their own families for honor killings. It has increased in the year of 2013, 300% last year. 300%. They get sexually harassed walking in the streets. I used to get sexually harassed going to university. Used to get to university and then turn around feeling disgusted, like almost walking in a zoo between animals. Sometimes I get home, sitting in a minibus, having people touching me. These are the rights that we have as women there. The other problem that we face is theft of lands. So the wall has taken so much lands around Bethlehem area especially. But Palestinians are stealing other Palestinians' lands, especially Christian lands. I have 4 uncles who lost half of their lands by people from Hebron. Just like that. They went to court to ask for the rights. The judge sadly was from Hebron. And he said, I can't wait to see the 4 of you dead in the fridges. Our judges, by the way, work from 10 to 5 to 1 o'clock in 5 days a week only. They're really having a very good career, 3 hours a day. Now, how did I end up being in Britain? I was born in a Christian family. I didn't have really much faith. And what happened was, after I grew up, I came across this verse as a person who was born in a Christian family, who only read the Bible once. And that verse challenged me to the core. And I actually found that it's written in the Quran as well. I said, oh, that is really bizarre. If God exists, and if that's true, I'll find the evidence. I had the lawyer in mind. So what I've done is that I went and researched the wars that happened against Israel and the wars that Israel was involved with. And my favorite war is Yom Kippur War. From a military perspective, fighting on more than one front in a battle, you're losing. Israel was attacked from the north by Lebanon and Syria, from the east by Jordan, from the south by Egypt. Lebanon went down. Israel had 150 tanks, and Syria had 1,400 tanks. From the south, Israel had 500 soldiers on duty, and Egypt had 80,000 soldiers on duty. And Israel won and took more lands. That wasn't them being superheroes, that was God's plan God's hand for me. That was an evidence. After learning that, I decided, well, I have freedom of speech, I have human rights, I want to exercise that and share my beliefs. And what happened was, when I started sharing my beliefs with a small group and simply saying, I believe that God has given this land to the Jews and as an everlasting covenant. They're there, we're here, let's have 2 states and move on, have a life. And if you don't want to take on my beliefs, well, how many Christian countries we have around the world? How many Muslim countries we have around the world? Why can't the Jews have one country? A very simple take. After I had the first gathering with my people around your age, after 24 hours, I had a phone call by one of my family members, and he asked to meet me. And the first thing he said when he met me was, I have a bullet. I have a gun. It's only a bullet. I'll put it in your head and end your life. You're playing with big fire here. You're gonna burn your family first before you burn yourself, and I was sent to stop you. After that, so I got threatened to be killed for sharing my beliefs and views. Well, Israel doesn't kill us or threaten us for sharing our views. Palestinians do. I was shocked, I was furious, I was angry. And then what happened was that I couldn't stop. I kept sharing my views. I'm a human being. I even went to Yad Vashem, the Holocaust Museum, to understand more about what happened to the Israelites. And when I put myself in their shoes, I was able to understand, not justify, understand why they have done and they're doing, why they are acting aggressively, why they're doing it in this way, because of what happened. There's always a reason why. And again, not justifying it, but they are being overprotective. Why? you suddenly understand why. Afterwards, I got persecuted. I was accused for being a traitor. It became dangerous for me to stay there. And I had to leave my country, and I went to Britain, and I was granted political asylum in 3 days because the case was an open and shut case. And this is my story. Thank you so much.
Now, after you watched both of the videos and you've seen my point of view on the current situation of the Palestinian territory, I think you'd be interested to know that I've been threatened to be killed here in England. Thank you.